This particular question is asking us to integrate this function here. So we're used to differentiating, right? And that means we differentiate something like this. So this is the other way around, d dx. Differentiating, what happens is we change the sign to a cos. That all stays the same. And we put in the same value there. So that all stays the same. But then all we do is differentiate this component. Apologies. Everything in the brackets, and we stick that out the front. So in this case, that is just going to be 4. So we stick a 4 there. Integrating is quite similar. All right. Integrating is very, very similar to the point that if we want to integrate, all right, we will keep everything the same. Those first two steps are all the same. So it immediately goes to cos, and we keep the brackets in there. That all stays the same, but there's two things now that we need to worry about, and three if we're being a bit finicky. We can save ourselves a mark by writing plus C because we're integrating. So integrating, you're always just going to have to write plus C at the end. Okay, just cos. Now, the other things that we've got to worry about is what's the constant at the front. So previously, that was some number like 4 or something, but we will figure that out, how to do that. And then the other thing is it going to be a plus or is it going to be a minus at the front? Okay, so we'll start with the plus and the minus bit. How do we know if it's going to be a plus or if it's going to be a minus? We can write this little thing here. DC Comics is worse than Marvel, right? All right, I don't know, maybe Batman's a bit better, but most of the DC movies have been a bit average. So what that means is differentiating cos will give you a negative, but integrating sine will give you a negative. So in this case, we will say there is a minus sign because we are integrating the sine. Okay, so now we differentiated that first bit, right? Differentiated that first bit. So what we're going to have to do is the reverse of that for that number 4. Because imagine we go from sine and we integrate it and we end up with this thing here, this whole thing here. But now we need to know what that variable is. Okay? Sometimes it's easier if you just start now to differentiate that. So let me show you what I mean. So now, let's say we just like, I want you to differentiate this thing here. Okay? And when you do that, our plus C is always going to go to 0. And we do the same thing. All right, we are differentiating cos. And so that minus sign goes away because it's like two minuses and they combine forces to make a plus. And so we write the opposite. So the cos becomes a sine and the brackets all stay the same. And then we grab that little bit here. All right. And so we differentiate everything in the brackets there. So if you differentiate 4x plus 6, it's just going to be 4. And so now you stick that 4 out the front. But hang on a minute. Hang on. That is different from our original answer, which or the original question, which is asking us to integrate this. It was like, can you integrate all of this for me? And you see, we've kind of got this problem here that there's an extra 4 here. So what we can do is we need to say, all right, our answer, I'm going to skip to the chase. our answer needs to have a divide by 4. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Like, there's only a couple of steps. Really, there's only 4 steps that we're doing here. So when we're integrating this thing here in blue, we can say the first step is we just change it from a sine to a cos. Second step is we just keep the brackets the same. Third step is what is our minus sign, or what's our sign there? And I guess there's 5 steps really. But the other one is we've got our plus C. That's kind of self-explanatory. But I guess the hardest bit about this is just figuring out what value that is there. And so when I look at this, I always think it's the opposite of differentiating, which always gives us that 4. It's the opposite of that. We're going to just put our value 1 divided by 4. So hopefully that makes sense. I want you to do a couple of questions. I want you to do a couple of questions, all right? And if you do that, sometimes it helps to kind of think about going backwards and forwards. At least that does for me. Um, but refresh the page, do it a bunch of times, and you'll be able to see a pattern emerge. And the red, the green, and the blue bit, super simple. It's just that number. That's the only difficult thing about this question.